Hey everyone, it's Chris from HashRelay.net bringing you another early morning market update. Sorry for the hiatus over the past couple of days. I'm in the process of moving, as you can probably tell from the giant stack of boxes behind me. And over the past couple of days, the market's been quite exciting. Bitcoin, last we looked, was just hovering over the $9,000 mark, and over the past couple of days, it's exploded past 10,500, sitting at $10,792. Ethereum's had a little bit of trouble reaching that $1,000 mark, but still holding strong at $962. The overall market cap finally hit that $500 billion mark, which is an excellent place to be. Daily trading volumes at $20 billion, and Bitcoin dominance is 36% of the market. If we look at the weekly chart, we can see that over the past 7 days or so, we've had this steady positive incline, which is a strong indicator. We don't really want to see large spikes at the moment, just want a nice casual growth. Now that we've hit that $500 billion mark, the next level to get to is $750 billion, so we'd like to see a good steady increase over that. Basically built $1 billion up over the market cap through the week. So we want to see bare minimum $600 billion by this time next week. If we jump over to the charts, we can see that Bitcoin has had some definite positive movements after breaking out of the short-term downtrend. Subsequently, broke through one uptrend and tested another. Couldn't hold above that, but over the next couple of days we should see a strong candle over this uptrend line here, coming up to test the long-term downtrend. Once we get to this downtrend line, we're really going to test the markets. Since Bitcoin is the driving force, if it breaks through its downtrend line, we're going to be basically in blue skies, regardless of the resistance lines that are yet to come. If we look at the indicators, we can see we're getting a distant distance from the yellow line on the MACD, getting some positive bars on the histogram. Broken through the 50 line on the RSI, and we're making a strong move towards that 70. So all positive indicators for the price of Bitcoin, and thus the market as a whole. Ethereum, also some positive movements, not quite as strong as Bitcoin. It did break through the short-term uptrend line, but that was a fairly steep line to hold, so I'm not really surprised at that. We're coming up to test this long-term downtrend line, and again, if we can break through, Ethereum also holds a great deal of weight through the market, so we definitely want to see it break through this long-term downtrend line here. Again, the indicators are looking positive. We've got a crossover on the MACD finally for Ethereum. Haven't seen that since the middle of January, so over a month. We've got a couple of short bars on the positive side of the histogram, and we just broke through the 50 line on the RSI, so we should be seeing some positive movements in Ethereum over the next couple of days, which would likely bring us out of this uptrend, or this long-term downtrend line. Litecoin, as you know, has had a significant move upwards since breaking through its long-term downtrend line. It also broke through a long-term uptrend line and made some massive movements. Here I've marked a resistance at $250, so I expect it to be the next point of contention for Litecoin, but given its impressive moves, we could see some consolidation up to that point, and that would give it the strength to move on past. Here we can see some divergence coming away from the yellow line. Excuse me. Getting some lengthening bars on the histogram there. We are flattening out a little bit on the RSI, but we're well above that 50 line, so we want to see it come up and touch that 70. Overall, positive news for Litecoin. Moving on to Neo, we can see that it's still trending downwards a little bit, getting some strong resistance from this short-term downtrend line and the previous all-time high. It did test this uptrend line here, and then came back up. So we'll likely see it consolidate some more over to this intersection before finally getting a chance to break through this downtrend line. Still in a narrow channel south of the yellow line on the MACD, pretty flat on the histogram. We did come down and test the 50 line and the RSI, bounce back up over it a bit, and now we're coming to test it again, so hopefully we can get a stronger bounce off of it this time. And that should lead us right up to this downtrend line. Moving on to Steam, we can see that it's had a fairly negative past few days, losing quite a bit of value that it's gained over its previous rise here. We do have a lot of resistance lines from these downtrends, and having broken through this uptrend line is not really a good sign for Steam. Here we can see it's still trending downwards from the MACD, maybe gaining a little bit of divergence from the yellow line, maybe lengthening the bars a bit on the histogram as well. We did fail testing the 50 line, and we're headed back down to that 40, so we're looking for it to bounce off of that and test the 50 on the upswing. So we'll be looking for Steam to gain some ground over the next few days, but we're looking fairly bearish at the moment. If we go to Komodo, we can see that it's also consolidated some. It did bounce over this long-term downtrend line, but wasn't able to hold, so we're going to see it probably consolidate into this intersection here at 50,000 Satoshi. We can see that it's tested the yellow line on the MACD. We failed the last test, so we're going to want to see it break through this time. And we flattened out here just under the 50 line on the RSI. Couldn't quite break through, so we'll want to see it, but test and break through there again as well. Moving on to Vertcoin, they've actually had some excellent news over the past few days, breaking out of their long-term downtrend line here. They're going to have some steady resistance here at the 50,000 Satoshi mark, so I'll go ahead and mark that with a vertical or a horizontal line. And so that's the next area we're looking for it to test. Indicators are looking pretty positive. We've held, get this out of the way, we've held the yellow line pretty squarely on the MACD, and we're finally getting some divergence to the positive side, lengthening a bit of the bars on the histogram. We did break right through that 50 line. Now we're flattening out a little bit on the RSI, so we want to see it definitely try and reach this 70 first, though it could come back and bounce off of the 50. Still, definite positive indicators for Vertcoin breaking out of that downtrend line. Moving on to QuantStamp, we can see that it's still following the uptrend line, but hasn't quite tested this downtrend line yet, so we're looking for some more consolidation here. Could carry on for the next week or so, up to the end of the month possibly. We did test the yellow line on the MACD and failed a little bit, but we're coming quickly back to test it again, so hopefully, since the time between testings was so short, it'll have some nice momentum to go ahead and push on through. RSI failed testing that 50, but it's coming back up to meet it again, so we're going to want to see it push on through for some positive indicators on QuantStamp. Moving on to Lumen, we can see that it's also following its downtrend line pretty closely, though it has broken out of an uptrend here. We're kind of bearish on Lumen over the next couple of days as the indicators getting a little more divergence from the yellow line on the south side of the MACD. Kind of flat on the histogram still. Flat as well on the RSI, but south of the 50 line, so not too positive on Lumen, but it has held up pretty well, so I assume it will either trend on this downtrend or possibly consolidate out of the downtrend line, which would be more bullish news. Moving on to Cardano, we can see that it's still suffering a little bit. Some consolidation, though to the negative more than anything else. We can see it's following this downtrend line pretty well. May trend a little lower in this channel now that it's broken out of this middle uptrend line. Hopefully we'll see it bounce off of the resistance here at 30,000 satoshis, but we'd like to see it hold closer to the 44,000 satoshis if possible. Very narrow band on the MACD south of this yellow line, very flat on the histogram, and we have dipped down to touch the 30 line on the RSI, so that could indicate a bounce upwards, though if it gets into the oversold area, we could be looking at some consolidation lower here, probably again at this 3,000 satoshi mark. Moving on to ELF, we can see that it has also broken its long-term uptrend line, following this downtrend line again, so not at all positive for ELF. It is flattening out a bit on the MACD. Stopped diverging as far from the yellow line here. The histogram is looking like it might be pulling back up a little bit. The RSI still hasn't met that 50 line yet. Still running pretty flat below it. So I'd expect some consolidation, probably follow this downtrend line a little while for ELF. We're going to see some support here at the 10,000 satoshi mark. And finally we get to Poet, and you can see that it's consolidating, has been consolidating for nearly a month now, so having broken this long-term downtrend, it's riding the long-term uptrend quite nicely. Expect it to follow a nice, easy progression upward over the next few weeks. We have come up and we're moving pretty much in line with the yellow on the MACD and flat at 0 on the histogram. Just over the 50 line, or just at the 50 line on the RSI, and again another very flat line, so all indications that we're going to consolidate right here along this 8,000 satoshi mark. So that'll bring us to the end of the early morning market update. Again, if you guys have any coins that you'd like me to go over, any indicator tools that you'd like me to use, go ahead and leave me a comment below. To my one subscriber, I really appreciate it. For a time I thought it was myself, but I realized today that I'm not even subscribed to my own channel, so thank you so much. That is awesome. Again, I am in the process of moving, so the next couple of days the video portion of my day may be cut, but it could be a little chaotic for a week or so, and then we should be back to a normal schedule in a new location. So stay tuned for all of that. Subscribe to my channel and click on that notification bell if you haven't, and you can stay abreast of the videos as I roll them out. If you're on Steam, go ahead and upvote and re-Steam, and give me a follow. I'll definitely follow you back. So for now, this is Chris from Hash Relay, and as always, I'll talk to y'all later.